Now, if I said the words iPod Touch, does that slap you in the face with nostalgia, or is that just me? A bit ago, I came across my old iPhone SE and also my 2012 MacBook Pro, but I found two other devices. That, of course, being an iPod Touch and another iPod Touch.
So I'm gonna get into what made the iPod Touch the peak of vintage Apple, at least in my nostalgia-blinded opinion. What the features, softwares, experience, and cameras are like all of these years later, then why I think the iPod Touch is gone for good.
These have probably been sitting uncharged for a decade. This one's easy because it has lightning cable, but for the other one, this is where it gets awkward because I don't exactly have this cable, but what I do have is my old alarm clock, which actually has the charger port for this built in. But as these get charged up and hopefully booted up, I just want to talk about what made the whole iPod Touch lineup so legendary. Well, obviously iPods originally were just simple music playing devices, but all of those evolved into the first generation iPod Touch, which made what was once mind-blowing technology like the touchscreen accessible to more people than just the ones who wanted to get an iPhone. The second generation iPod added speakers, the third gen added voice control, and the fourth gen took a pretty big leap, adding a better display, cameras on the front and back, and also FaceTime support. Then the fifth gen came around and added the lightning cable, and there is a sixth and seventh gen, but not much physically really changed. There's just better processors, software updates, and things like that. That's also when it started to fall off, and I don't want to sound like Thanos, but it was inevitable. Finally in 2022, which is actually more recent than I thought, Apple cut off the entire iPod lineup and pretty much put them all in their grave. So out of those generations, this is ridiculous, by the way. This is the fourth gen and this is the fifth. So those are two pretty big generations. Starting with the more recent fifth gen, this has a 4-inch screen, which is the same as my old iPhone SE. And that display is at the crisp resolution of 640p. I think this has 16 gigabytes of storage. This has the 5 megapixel camera, which I will be testing it later, but just for reference, my iPhone 17 has 48 megapixels. The thing I definitely won't be testing, and still all of these years later I feel confident in, is I feel like I could just snap this thing in half. But since I haven't tried that, it is still surprisingly in pretty good shape. There's no cracks on the screen or anything. Now on the back of it, there's this weird kind of black bar here. Apparently that's a window for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth transmitters. And since this was before Touch ID, both of these are just rocking the basic home button. The iPod 5 actually has this little button here, which I used to fidget with all the time. I think its real purpose was so you can attach like a lanyard to it and sling it on you, which is a little more practical than that little Apple sock they sold. It's probably cheaper too.
The fifth gen launched for $300 in 2012, and the fourth gen in 2010 launched for $230. But you can get both around the $30 mark today used.
And since this is a generation before the fifth, there are some pretty big physical differences. Design-wise, it definitely still looks good, but it shows its age a bit more, even just compared to the fifth gen. And if you get up close to this, there are a lot of scratches on here. To be fair, this has been around a very long time. There's probably somebody watching this that's younger than this, and that is crazy to think about.
Also, with the angled volume buttons, these things are impressively difficult to click. I definitely prefer the way it is now. For a device line that was originally meant for music, fittingly, both of these are rocking an audio jack.
The fourth gen does not have a flashlight, while the fifth gen does. And maybe most amazing of all, it's rocking 8 gigabytes of storage. And another spec that you'll laugh at is the 256 megabytes of RAM in this. Boy, have times changed. And just when you thought it couldn't get smaller than a 4-inch screen, this one's rocking a 3.5-inch screen. It also has a 640p display, but it is at a different aspect ratio. By turning on the fourth gen, we have the slide to unlock. That's nice. And maybe I'm blinded by the nostalgia, but I think the slide to unlock is far superior to the just swipe up. Let me just make sure everyone can understand the glory. Just the sounds of it, like turning it off. The OG charging sound. Oh my god, the keyboard noises. Now the 5th gen also has slide to unlock. It's just not as crisp. And again, since the iPod touches were just iPhones without the phone aspect, these don't run on their own OS, they run on iOS. I believe the 4th gen is running on iOS 6 or something like that. And the 5th gen is running on iOS 9. And immediately it looks more modern. But if I check like the control center, like look at that, is way different than it looks now. And honestly, this looks good. If we try the notification center, yeah, that looks outdated. I don't think there is a control center on the 4th gen.
All the designs and animations and sounds, it all feels like it just has more character. Like the slide to unlock is exactly what I think about when I hear vintage Apple. And it feels like everything back then is a whole lot less corporate feeling, like some aspects of modern iPhones.
I remember at some point using this old iPod, this YouTube logo was like the old one. When you look at it and the only thing you think is like PewDiePie and Minecraft Let's Plays. Actually, speaking of Minecraft, I have Minecraft Pocket Edition on here. I'm playing Minecraft on a very old iPod. Oh, low battery warning. We have phone weapons. I remember this. And I don't want you to take it as a threat, but you should subscribe.
Generally, to me, it's impressive that this thing even runs, although some of the games had quite a bit of lag and even bugged out completely, but that's, you know, probably just the 1/4 gig of RAM talking.
I think this battery has gone down while using it when it's plugged in. I think it's safe to say both of these batteries are pretty cooked.
I was able to sign into iCloud on my 5th gen, but unfortunately for both of these iPods, you can't iMessage or FaceTime since there's no more security updates. So they're too outdated to run on Apple's servers. So that makes them even less usable in 2026. Interestingly, including the most recent 7th gen, all iPods are obsolete except for the 4th and 6th gen. That's kind of confusing, Apple.
But I think a good test of how usable old tech is how fast you can pull up a YouTube video. I wonder, can I even open YouTube? Like, is it even supported? Yeah, but just from trying to open YouTube, I'm now on low power. So let's try typing it into Safari here. It says your browser is outdated. So if you are looking to buy an old iPod Touch to watch YouTube, don't. They are iPods after all, so it still has some music on iTunes. So just for the fun of it, I'm gonna do a speaker test. And I'm sure you can figure it out yourself, but even if you could watch a couple YouTube videos on here, it is not the move for 99% of people to buy one of these today. It's just gonna create more problems than it solves, but there is a feature that back then probably wasn't considered a strong suit necessarily, that now is, and that has to do with the cameras. Ironically, it's thanks to the imperfections. It's that like vintage kind of old-fashioned camera style. In fact, instead of just explaining it, I'm just gonna show it to you and you can make up your mind yourself.
The camera app back then was nice and simple, although I do love the options and features we have today.
Okay, so I'm recording on my Sony camera there, and then the 4th generation iPod Touch. The max quality you can record in is only 720p, which if you're going for that vintage nostalgic vibe, then it probably nails it. Now, like side by side, just the sensor size on the 5th gen is a good bit bigger than the 4th, and it can record in 1080p. We've reached full HD capabilities. And now, you know, fast forwarding over a decade later, we're on the iPhone 17. I have a bit of a hunch that this one will be the best. And the last thing I want to test are the selfie cameras and also microphones. I'm on the iPod 4th generation. I don't even think the word selfie existed back then. And then on the 5th generation iPod Touch, it looks significantly brighter right off the bat. And of course, compared to the 17, yeah, the 17 is just gonna win. So the 5th generation iPod Touch supports AirDrop, so that was easy. The fourth doesn't, which is okay. What's not okay is I don't have this cable. I have no way of getting the footage off of here. I tried to email it to myself. It can't connect to the servers. Google Drive is unable to load on Safari.
I thought it was important enough to view the footage at the full recorded quality, so I actually ended up buying the 30-pin USB cable, and I was able to connect that to my desktop since, ironically, it didn't fully connect to my Apple laptop.
Okay, first up is the outside picture between the 4th and 5th gen. I mean, the 4th gen is very soft, a little more contrasty, and looks quite magenta, which again, for that kind of vintage style, that's perfect. Newer iPhones or just Apple devices in general post-process it too much and they overexpose it. It just ends up looking very flat and dull. And for the selfie outside, I'd say the same things are true. The 4th gen iPod Touch looks vintage. Actually, I don't think I need the air quotes. It is vintage. And then the 5th gen compared to the iPhone, there's more highlight detail in the iPhone.
The best way for me to describe the 4th gen's pictures is it almost looks how a memory feels, if that makes any sense.
But for video, I would say the 5th gen is worse. Like my skin looks like, I look like I have like some like disease. It's all like yellow and washed out. And then I do think the iPhone 17 looks the best. And as far as the selfie video, I think all of the same things are true. Like resolution aside, especially for pictures, I think the older devices, I don't know if it's the contrast or the colors, but they do it right. I'm just not sure the effort to buy, carry it with you, keep it charged is worth the marginal differences of like a vintage camera quality compared to just taking a more modern iPhone and figuring out a way to edit it. But if you already have one of these, maybe it is a way to get some use out of it instead of it just collecting dust in a corner. And, you know, talking about collecting dust, I think it's pretty obvious that the iPhone lineup, specifically the touches, are never going to come back. And it's not because their function is useless, it's just that there are so many better options. I think that most people that are in the market for this function would willingly pay a little bit more to get a much bigger screen in the iPad. And I think most importantly, phones just dominate now, for the better or worse. The iPod Touch's whole point was to be an iPhone without the phone functionality. But you can take an iPhone and just turn off cellular or never connect it, and then you have the same functionality as an iPod Touch. The legendary run of iPod Touches, and I mean just iPods in general, it's over. Unless they do one thing. I think if they take AirPods and they put like the original iPod style shuffle, pause, play, and buttons directly on the case, that will be the closest thing that iPods have to coming back. But these were an absolute staple of my life like 10 years ago, so I'm glad they existed and I'm glad I got to revisit them. But thank you for watching and feel free to subscribe for more.